Leftie podcast. I'm your host, Reagan. I have another amazing mother-daughter duo coming on. We have our guests, Victoria and Jodie. They've been through so much and had to go through so many tough patches, but they've figured out their independence and they're figuring out their story. So yeah, thank you guys so much for coming on. I'm so glad you guys could.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course. Victoria, do you want to go through your story a little bit?
You want me to start? Yeah, Victoria's a little bit nervous. This is the first time she's done this. And then her voice is not super strong. So just maybe I'll do some of the talking and then she can kind of chime in. So when you see her in person and meet her in person, she's much easier to understand. But on telephone or video, or sometimes it's a little hard because she doesn't have a strength projection because of her cerebral palsy. Just to start, to talk about the whole birth process, maybe because moms are interested in that. Victoria had a normal pregnancy, that kind of thing. Had a traumatic birth, emergency C-section, and wound up, it was the umbilical cord around her neck. So she was quick delivered, and we thought that she was fine and that there were no issues and that we were out of the water for any sort of a problem. We first noticed, I think, some sort of a neurological difficulty when she was maybe a toddler at Easter. And when Victoria gets excited, even now, we had this happen last night, but when Victoria gets excited, even now, especially about sweets and treats, her hands shake.
Aww.
And so she had the big basket of Easter candy and she was unwrapping the peanut butter cups and her hands were shaking. And we were wondering what was going on with that. And so we just thought it was excitement or anxiety. She walked okay. She walked fine. We didn't have any issues with her too much when she started to walk. It was probably when you first started feeling like you were unsteady on your feet.
Yeah, that's hard. What age was that for you?
Was when you felt like you needed to have the cane. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that gave you a lot of stability. I can imagine that being helpful.
yeah. And so again, I think one of the things that you see is when the body is small, because Victoria's cerebral palsy is considered mixed. So she has it everywhere. I mean, she got sprinkled by the things CP fairy, and Victoria has tremor, ataxia, dystonia, spasticity, balance issues, scoliosis. I mean, the whole 9 yards. But when the body's very small, those kind of things don't really show so much, and the body's a lot easier to handle. And so probably in maybe 6th or 7th grade, we started to see some problems. And then, she went to 8th grade, which was considered high school for her. And then that's when the balance problems started to show up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I remember one of Reagan's therapists when she was young saying it's not hard to be two, right? And so that's
a good
too, right?
That's a good comment. And recently, to your point, just trying to, think about that concept and helping people understand. Victoria's new neuropsychologist, Dr. Damer, said Victoria is one of those examples where you grow into disability. And
help me understand what you mean by that. That's interesting.
So is that it has to do with the body growing, really? Is that it's a lot easier to manage a small body and it's easier to be a kid, right? Than to be an adult. And so when everything grows, then you're managing everything, and then you've got anxiety on top of it and the social component and all those kinds of things. That's the thing. I think as another mom, I'm not sure what you guys have seen on your CP journey, but they like to say, oh, it doesn't get any worse. That's not true.
Yeah, it's a little different. I mean, you kind of experienced that as you started wanting to be more independent. You started trying to do things in the kitchen.
Yeah, and obviously it was a safety issue because I would try and do stuff without asking, and then because I wanted to do it myself, and then when my mom would try to help me, I'd yell because I wanted to figure it out. Like I wanted to be able to do it by myself, and that was a big thing. Like as I got older, like you want to become more independent, and it was hard when there was some things that like you still need help with. Like I still need help today, but it's really frustrating.
Well, and it's building that community of people that get it and being able to give you tips and tricks and how do you work together to figure something out. And I think that's been really helpful as you've started meeting people, that have similar challenges to get ideas of how to work around those.
It's the people around you. Like I had my third grade teacher. I wasn't able to do a ponytail. I wasn't able to tie my shoes yet. And everyone used to ask her, like, why are you helping this kid? Like she's a third grader. Like she should know how to do her hair. She should know how to tie her shoes. But they didn't understand. So, and my teacher obviously defended me and she would help me whenever I'd ask her. And it was just hard because people would look at me like, why are you in a third grade not knowing how to tie your shoes or do your hair? And like, it's just hard because I never understood and they weren't able to because they just didn't know. Because whenever like you look at me, like I get this all the time, like, you don't look like you have CP, like, you don't look like you have a disability. And like, so people just don't understand when I'm like, yeah, like, I need more help doing things. Like, my friend, I practiced and I needed help getting on my glove, and she like, and nobody else understood except my friend. And still today I still need help. And but like it's finding that independence and that community of people that can help you.
What do you think about that? Yeah, yeah.
Remember, was Donnie put or that was girl was just assumed I had been able about it.
Right. So she said, remember at Dollywood when those girls just assumed that I'd been able-bodied. When Victoria's sitting still, you absolutely can't tell. Okay. But the minute she starts to move, you can tell. And I think you're right. There's the balance between wanting to be independent and needing to be independent, right? Because I think I can give the mom perspective, Reagan, about we want y'all to be independent. God knows we want that more than anything. But yeah, not wanting you to get hurt or just trying to, find a workaround. And, for Victoria, like she's got a couple of friends. So when she went to college, she made friends and she went to a smaller college in Jackson, Mississippi. And one of the reasons she chose her major maybe and was a friend of hers, Mason, who had CP. And he was a triplet and he was 2 of 3 of the triplets with CP, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And
And
what is her major? What is your major, Victoria?
Major had been classical history, some ancient Rome, ancient Greek.
so yeah, so ancient Rome, ancient Greece, some language,
Wow.
some language in there, Latin and Greek. And she's 25 now. How old are you, Reagan?
I'm 16.
Okay, so yeah, so you got there's still plenty fun ahead.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
have you seen kind of that advocacy journey for you guys as far as getting what you needed in college?
So because Victoria went to a small Methodist college, I think that foundation made all the difference because we did a lot of looking about what school was going to be best for Victoria in terms of just understanding who she was, right? And Victoria did really well in high school and did really well in ACT and all that. And we had opportunities. She got into some really good schools, up east, right? Girls Ivy League, that kind of thing. But what we found, our journey with college, was that some schools want you, but most don't. I mean,
Yeah,
that
it's interesting. We're kind of in that college research now, and She went to a big school. You want to tell your story?
Yeah.
You know, I went to a bigger school just to like see what I would like. It was one of the first colleges that I visited. And, you know, it was just tough because the teacher didn't even notice like I was in there, and she didn't like notice that I wasn't a, you know, a student in her class. So then I went to visit a smaller school, and it was amazing. Like the teacher like realized that I wasn't there. Like it was a smaller class. People were actually able to engage with it, not just listen and write, which is I think is a huge thing for me because I'm a huge like visual learner, like doing hands-on things. And I think in a smaller class, like you're able to get on that. I'm looking at smaller schools right now. I figured out that's, and also my major OC is very there's only so many like schools that have like a major in that. So going to a school that has that major and finding what works best for me. And I'm looking to play in college for lacrosse. So, you know, finding a school that will fit me lacrosse wise too, and hoping that like I'll be able to take like it to the next level even with a disability, which is like I know I can
Yeah.
do it, but you know, like you said, like some schools will want you and some won't. And
I
Vic-
think my journey as a mom in trying to support her through that has been hard, right? Because as a mom, you want to tell her she can do anything. Then you see, to your point, some of these schools that may not be willing to accommodate or modify as they need to. And one thing we learned early on, and actually we learned this with horseback riding. I took her to a riding facility. She had ridden when she was 4, and then she took some time off and she went to go back, and they said, she's not safe to ride here. And I said, look, I need you to know, like, I feel comfortable with her riding. And they're like, no. And it was that moment where, as a mom, I'm like, I could absolutely advocate and find a way to make this work. But I don't want her in a situation with people who are not problem solvers and trying to find a way to make it work. And so we talk a lot about, you know, Team Bischoff and who's on Team Bischoff. But I do think that advocacy journey, especially as you move into college, is hard to say it's okay that they don't want to accommodate, and I'm not going to fight that. I'm going to find someone who wants to be a partner in this.
Absolutely. And what I say and the advice that I would give as you guys are at the beginning of this college part of things is that you will go where you're welcomed. All right. And being welcomed is more than, oh, they have words or they have a program
Yeah.
or those kinds of things. It's not, talk is cheap.
Yeah,
All right. And you'll get a lot of universities who talk,
that's
but
good advice.
that's all you're gonna get. And without a structure that is welcoming, that's where you're going to have your best success. Okay. And even as an athlete, like Victoria's friend Cecile, who is one-sided CP, and Cece is the same age as Victoria. Cece graduated from UNO in New Orleans, but she started out as at a smaller college, and Cece played tennis. Cece was a high school tennis player, you know, did all those kinds of things. And, you know, as she moved on down the line, for Cece, it was about managing fatigue and the the intricacies of college, right? You know, because there's work all around, and people with CP have that limited amount of energy. And you know, it's personal to each person. They have to decide. But if you all those things are doable for Reagan, it's just finding a good way to manage it, and it's all good. I'm excited for you. We're excited to keep up with you now and
For
find out.
sure.
thank you.
Yeah.
So I feel like another piece that really helps is having the right medical staff to support you through that journey. Have you guys felt that you've had that?
Ooh, well, we can talk about that. So, because Victoria's CP presented very unusually, we went through every single pediatrician in elementary school in, you guys have counties, but we have parishes. So, in surely 10 pediatricians, okay? And your average pediatrician is not good at recognizing mild CP. I mean, it's just, then we went to the children's hospital system, and they are not very good at recognizing mild CP. So then we went to a pediatric neurologist in Baton Rouge, which is where we live now. And she worked on it for about a year, just observing. And then she said, I can't diagnose her.
She's not a breast and meaning to go to Baylor in US
So Dr.
for
her professor. So Dr. Jankovic he's kind of a pioneer in neurology, and he's the director of the Movement Disorders Clinic at Baylor in Houston. And he taught Victoria's pediatric neurologist, her pediatric neurologist, her neurology course, right? Her pediatric neurology course. And so she got us in to see him, and he took about 4 hours with Victoria and said, I'm not sure. And then we talked about things like genetic ataxias, because one of the things that people, with genetic ataxia, it can look like CP as well. And because we live in a community where, I guess we're Cajuns, right? So in the Cajun community, we don't, it's not like we've got like cousin marriages, but we have there's a population of a few 100,000 people, right? And people know each other and people marry. So we have a higher and it's very small, but we have a higher percentage of genetic ataxias in the Cajun population in Louisiana. So, when you look at type genetic stuff, so he had to rule that out with a lot of genetic testing. And then finally, he said he settled on CP, and CP is a diagnosis of exclusion, right? And then, of course, we know that cerebral palsy is the umbrella. And then there are all the neurological components of how it presents with underneath the umbrella, and how you treat each one individually. And I think it's very, very difficult. We are still seeing Dr. Jankovic, but the bigger problem, I think, for CP, people who are managing CP, is that we don't have, like, once Victoria aged out of pediatric orthopedic, there's nowhere to go.
Yeah,
And
I've been worrying about that transition. So
Yeah.
I understand you're using the BioNS L300 like
Yes.
right? Is
So-
that doctor the one that helped you find?
No.
Okay.
And that's the point about trying to find things. You have to be open-minded, and you have to be a searcher. So when Victoria was in college, there's a neuro rehab hospital across from her college. And I said, hey, let's see what we can do to go see somebody over there to talk about physical therapy. And we met KK. So KK was a nurse practitioner who was seeing patients there, and they set us up. She's my age, she's like 60s, and she has CP, and she had been wearing the BioNS for the better part of its existence on both legs.
That's amazing.
And she's tiny, and so she wears the child size. So we got started with that facility, and we got one, and on the one leg with Victoria, and managed the foot drop, because that was what Victoria has, is foot drop. So the BioNS has been dramatic at managing the foot drop on the one side. And I think that she's not needed bracing. She's not needed another type of orthotic, right? Because BioNS is considered an orthotic.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, that's
know.
exactly kind of what you went through.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. So what's your story?
Gosh. Well, I actually always get asked like how we found BioNS, but honestly, it was like so long ago. Like I sometimes like it's like just a huge, like just knowing that I already have it. So
But through the physical therapist, and they
Yeah.
recommended it. Actually, your physiatrist,
Oh, okay.
puppy.
Yeah. Got the whole family. That's
Physiatrist
awesome.
recommended the BioNS, and so yeah, so it's really helped you through that, and really helped you. So you have toe drop as well.
yeah. How does your walking feel like different now? now that you've like used the Bioness?
Just lifts my foot when I get depression.
So it lifts her foot when she goes to walk. So if Victoria doesn't have the Bioness, the foot is just almost dragging, like kind of like, just kind of like a little helpless foot. But with the Bioness, it lifts. Yeah.
It's such a life changer.
Yeah, no, I mean, and
Thanks, Reagan.
on the one side, so on the one side, she's got the drop, and then on the other side, she toes in. So we've got a scissor gait on one side. And it helps with that also, not to the extent that it helps with foot drop, because with foot drop, it's life changing, right? With the scissor, it just helps. But working in combination when she wears them both, because of course she has to wear them on different sides of each leg, and she has the small ones, but it makes all the difference in the world. And Victoria still needs a walker for balance, right? But the Bioness allows her to go the distance. And I mean, if you say, Victoria, get outside and go walk for exercise, and take your walker. When she's wearing her Bionesses, she's rolling. I mean, she can go for a long time.
Yeah, I think
Definitely.
do you agree that's one of the biggest differences for you is not only lifting the toe, but the cognitive load is decreased that allows you to kind of sustain that movement longer.
Yeah, because honestly, like thinking about every time I walk to lift my toe is so tiring. Honestly, like my brain like sometimes like will get really tired, and that like equals me getting tired faster and me not being able to do as much. So, just like not being able to think about that is so nice. It's just another thing like off my mind that like I can like continue doing stuff.
And it's interesting, I don't know if it's been this way for you as a mom. I feel like when she was younger, there were so many things I didn't understand, and she was not able to articulate. And as she's gotten older, people used to give me a hard time. I had friends with kids her age, and I would carry her, and they're like, you need to make her walk. And I remember someone on a special needs group one time saying, I carry my child because one day I won't be able to. And that was so powerful to me to say, I'm not going to be carrying her when she's 20. Let yourself help her when you can. But I think in that moment, people felt like I was enabling her. And now I look back and go, who cares? Like she needed it. I didn't realize. But, I think in that parenting moment, you're trying to kind of figure it all out. And it's hard to know how much to help and how much to not help. But
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you 100%. And we had some of the same things about part of me not understanding CP early on when she was little. She always wanted to hold my hand. And I
yeah,
thought it was because she was a loving child. And she is.
but she
But
is,
but
right?
it was because she needed balance.
Balance,
And
yeah,
when I tried to make her let go and say, be a big girl, she would hold my jean pocket.
yeah,
And I was like, what's going on that she won't let go of me?
yeah,
Something's going on. And I heard the same kind of things that you were hearing is let go of her. You need to let her walk. And my
yeah,
mother's intuition said, no, something's going on, and I'm going to support her as long as she needs.
yep,
And so I think that you gotta tune out the outside noise.
I agree.
Tune out the outside noise, right? And just
Really, you can't minimize that. What you just said is mother's intuition. Another thing she told me as she got older was the sensation of her whole left side is different. And, again, there were moments where we would have arguments over clothing when she was young. And I look back now and I 100% believe that sensation being different, like we would literally, I would have moms saying to me, why are you letting her go outside in short sleeves? It's winter. But she didn't want that sensation on her
hurt,
arm. You're nodding your
hurt.
head, Victoria. Do you feel the same way about certain clothes? Yeah.
And
It must be for me a bit of a sunscreen. that like I remember thinking
The tags. Yeah. Yeah, so she said it must be a sensory issue for her and she remembers the tags. But also Victoria went to school that required uniforms all the way throughout. And I would have to buy the uniform and I'd have to wash it with every single load of clothes for the whole summer before. So it would be sufficiently comfortable for her by the time the school year came. And I was always the mom who was in the used uniform shop trying to find the used uniforms that were broken in, right?
Yep.
You know, and that's another, yeah, I mean, it's just, they've got enough to deal with. Why can't they just be comfortable?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I think that that's it. I don't know how it is for you guys, but finding the perfect shoes are important. And I want to talk about shoes and girls on this point because we're talking about Bioness too. Okay, what girl doesn't like cute shoes? All right. And if you've got an orthotic, a traditional orthotic, you can forget those cute ballet flats or the latest fashionable sneakers or whatever, because you're not wearing a regular shoe. Well, with Bioness, you get to take advantage of whatever shoe you can manage with your condition. I mean, Victoria needs flats, right?
Yeah.
But that's another thing, that you can do, right?
Yeah.
Besides,
That was huge for us.
besides play sports,
Yes.
play sports, cute shoes,
Yes. Well, and the other piece of that, I think too, as we are losing more in-person stores and shopping online, figuring out which ones fit over the AFO is so hard. And then for Reagan, because she's a left hemi, we needed 2 different size shoes. And Nordstrom was willing to sell us just one of each size, but no stores now are willing to do that. And we don't have a Nordstrom near us anymore. So, especially for kiddos that are a left or a right, but not both, and just wearing one AFO, that added a whole nother level. But yes, I mean, what 3-year-old wants to go in and be told she has to buy the shoes that fit the AFO, and that happened to us. Definitely.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's just, the struggle is making them love themselves so that they're okay with being different, because you are different, you are different. And so just as we say in Cajun country, you do you, boo, do it. Okay.
I love it. We are stealing that.
Love it.
No,
Okay. But I mean, you do you. And that's what you got to do. And you just, you love yourself. Okay. And being 16 is hard. And I would say that being 25 is easier. Okay. It is. It
Yeah.
is.
But
It
I
gets,
do
it
think,
gets,
and
it
I
gets
would be
easier.
curious your perspective on this. I feel like I've met other special needs parents who try to not include that as part of conversations and journeys and discussions and sharing. And for me, I feel like it's very important for her to be herself and be honest and open from a very young age about what she can do, where she needs help, and be honest and open about it. Because I think it's just made it not be this taboo conversation that all of a sudden it's this big, oh, we've got to, tell people this. And it's interesting because even in the lacrosse recruiting journey, her coach basically said, face it head on. Like, you just need to be honest and open, find your people. If it's not an accepting situation, then, unfortunately it's not going to work out. But I think that's really good advice.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think that, for Victoria, like, she went away to college. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, to the next state, but most, yeah,
What 3 hours?
about 3 hour drive. So it was, people were like, oh, I can't believe you're letting her leave home. And I'm like, she's going to find her way. And what she did was, she went through Rush. She found a sorority that
Wow.
accepted her, okay? And she had her sisters, and she had them on text blast if something came up that mom wasn't there. But what she found in the end was that it wasn't just those girls, but it was the whole school. So if Victoria fell down, because Victoria went during college, Victoria went from cane to walker to mobility chair for distance. Okay, so we had some loss there during that time period. But it was the man who drove the little security golf cart.
He had picked me up and asked me where I needed to go, and I had told him
Yeah.
where I needed.
And so the security guard picked her up and told her, she's like, okay, this is where I need to go. And he brought her. And so it was the entire community. Okay, that was college. And that was, we don't get a lot of snow or ice right in the South, but when we had problems in Jackson and there was an ice storm, nobody had to tell the ladies in the cafeteria Victoria needed to eat and she couldn't walk there. And they bring her a hot breakfast and they pack her a lunch. And that was just nobody said take care of Victoria. That was just they saw Victoria and they did it without being asked. And
That's amazing.
what's the motto for Millsaps? What is it? It finds you, or you don't come here, you belong here. Yeah. Yeah. So Millsaps's motto, you don't come here, you belong here. And so that's the thing. It's like, where are you gonna belong and where are you gonna get that feeling that's the right place for you, whether it's athletics, academics, or both.
Was not I had selected Milner because the other schools are nice, but God is at Milner.
Victoria went to Catholic high school, right? And Victoria felt like God was at Millsaps. I mean, that was her best way of describing it. And it's not, whether you're a Christian or whatever. It's not that. It's just where you find your people and who your audience is, and that's what it's gonna just feel right. And we went to a lot of colleges. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the thing, is that, what feels right, and are they gonna hear you?
Yeah. So what's one piece of advice you would give like other families like just starting their journey with CP?
What would you tell her right now about college, if you can think of something?
First, I can see a bit overwhelming if you're attending college out of state where you don't have family or close friends to lean on and feel like, hey, I'm in this particular set of, I don't know what to call it, besides sticky situation. Like, yeah, and the sort of inaccessible side, but
Yeah, that there are going to be, it's going to be overwhelming, right? I think that that's what she talked about in a nutshell, is that at first it feels overwhelming and that there are going to be issues, and that, for Victoria, it was the broken sidewalks. I mean, it doesn't take much more than this for her to trip with the walker and take a header, right? Those kinds of things. So to talk about the physical challenges, I think that for the most part, most of the instructors at college were good. It tends to be the institutional part, the physical part of college. And then going back to your original question, which was about what do you tell families who are on the CP journey? It is what it is. You can't quit. Okay. This is just our life, and everybody's life is different. I don't know what you hear, but I hear, like, Victoria and I travel a lot, right? And we go all over, and I've got it down to where I'm pushing her in the wheelchair. I've got the walker strapped on my back. We each got a backpack and we share one suitcase, and we make it work. And we've gone, the furthest we've gone has been to Canada and Alaska and that kind of thing. But
That's
people,
amazing.
I hear people say, "Oh, well, it's so good that you get her out," or whatever. And I'm like,
Why wouldn't I?
why
Yeah.
wouldn't I? Right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I? Right? Like,
So what I'm
disabled people.
hearing is your advice is don't let it hold you back.
Yeah, no.
You
I
do
mean,
you,
don't.
boo.
You do you, boo. And yeah, I mean, don't let it, they're gonna look, they're gonna stare, they're gonna be inappropriate. You're gonna hear ugly comments. Some people might stop and want to prey on you and fix you. You're gonna hear all kinds of things, okay? And there are gonna be assumptions that are going to be made about you. For Victoria, one of the struggles has been people assume that she's intellectually disabled, right? Because her voice is impacted. So people's assumption, right? And it's just tune that out and just, be your best self. And we're all different, and one of Victoria's famous lines is everybody's got something, right? Everybody's got something that they're dealing with, and just
So true.
roll with it. What about yours? What advice would you give?
Oh, I would just say, I've been talking to a couple people with CP, and I would just say, like, don't listen to people who put you down, because, like, I've talked to some people who, like, they'll just take the hit when somebody comments something on them, but they won't, like, defend themselves. And I'm like, but if you keep letting them stomp on you, they're going to keep doing it and think it's okay. But if you defend yourself and be like, they may not understand what your gut, like what you have. So being like, I am unable to tell my brain what my body to do. If you say that to them, like they won't fully understand still, but they'll get a better idea of, oh wait, they can't control that. They're not just trying to be funny. Like some people just don't understand. So I would say don't defend yourself if somebody tries to put you down, and never give up. Don't try and find the solution, because if you don't find a solution, it's never going to get fixed. So
Yeah. Finding those friends that have your back, surrounding
Absolutely.
yourself by people who will be there for you.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
thank you guys so much for coming on.
You.
You guys have gone through so much, and it's amazing that you guys figured out like how to get around that. And thank you to our listeners. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe, and I hope that you guys are able to listen again. All right,
We
thank you. All
will.
right, guys.
Good deal. Bye, y'all.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet y'all. Take care. Bye-bye.